Hello everyone, welcome to the Ideal General Training video. We'll start off with installation steps, but before we do it, we strongly recommend running the installer as an administrator to ensure full user permissions on the system. The first step will be to select a language, of course, and then you click on Next. We strongly recommend you to install the software on the default folder location. Click Next again, and as a last step, you need to accept the terms of the license agreement. Finally, you click on Install to proceed. Once it's done, you can click on the Finish button. It takes a few seconds to load the software, and meanwhile, an ideal shortcut has already been generated in the desktop. First window you'll be prompted with will be the one that allows you to insert the activation code. But in case you just want to test the software in the demonstration mode before purchasing a license, you can click on the Close button, of course. I won't be adding any license yet, as I want to show you the few differences that our welcome view presents for the non-licensed product. Starting off with the top section, it offers you the ability to access our start guide and also has a quick access button for our license management window you already seen. In the middle section, you have the ability of creating a new blank card entirely from scratch, which we'll show you later on, or you could use a pre-made template as a base. On the bottom section, in the first button, it presents the 4 editions available in our software as well as the respective features. Besides that, we have the list of plugins that you can additionally buy apart from the upgrades. The learning section, you have some relevant information of our key features. And in the news section, you can look at major software changes, new implementations throughout time. Going back to the license window. In case you want to start using your license, you can apply it here. You could also log in into an existing account or create a new one. In this example, I will demonstrate how to create one from scratch. So I click in here. I now have to insert the first and last name. Then press Next. It will then ask you to insert your email address, where you press Next again. It shall then send you a verification code, so you need to check your inbox. Bear in mind that it could take a few seconds. Copy and paste it. Then you click on Validate, where as a last step you will need to insert your own password. Finally, you click on Create Account, and as long as you have a login successful message on the bottom left, you should be good to go. I can now enter my activation code. Begin by applying a starter edition to show you what a basic edition looks like. If I now close the window, the license successfully activated, and I access the bottom upgrades or plugins sections, I'll be able to notice some differences. Right now I only have 3 available editions to upgrade my license into. And if I go to plugins, I can choose to activate them as well. So regardless what I click on these 2 sessions, it will bring me into an upgrade view of our software, where you could choose what edition to upgrade into as well as the plugins you want to include in the process. For your information, the multi-device plugin can only be bought in groups of 5 units. And let's say that you purchase 5 devices for the starter edition and later on decide to upgrade into a higher level, you will be charged with the additional cost for each device you previously added. Last but not least, you will obviously have to insert your own contact details and ensure they are fully correct, otherwise you'll naturally not obtain a response from your reseller. In case you're running an expert edition, for example, with all the plugins enabled, then you won't have any upgrades available, nor you'll be able to activate any plugin. Before we create any layout, I'm going to show you what menus are available in our welcome view. Starting off with Ideal, you can use the Clear Config option to reset the configuration of your software to its default state, like it was a clean installation. You can change the language, where you can see it immediately take effect without having to restart the software. I'll put it back in English. You can access the Manage License window. You can also use a log file to capture any local issue, where you'll be able to enable, disable, or clear it, as well as open the log location in your system's file explorer. Then you have the File menu, which offers you the options to create a brand new card from scratch, one using pre-made template, open all the recent cards, open a specific card where it will prompt the file explorer of your system, and close the application. On to the Windows menu, where you could see all the currently active views. Now, at the moment, I only have the welcome view, but once I create a brand new project, its design view will also be included in it. Last but not least, we have the Help menu that offers you access to our Knowledge Center, where you can search for specific words. You have the list of our supported devices, only including the printers and encoders. You can check for updates, and you can verify what software version and license edition you're currently running. We shall now create a blank card from scratch. And here you have a bunch of filters to easily find the layout model you're looking for. I'm just going to select the CR80 option, and even if it doesn't have any encoding features on, I can add them later on at any time. Before we start designing our layout, I'm going to show you the top menus that are available on the design view. Starting off with the file, there's a bunch of options you already seen in the welcome view, but you can now save a running project, save as, different file name and location. You can print the document, which we'll show you later on. You can lock the design with a password, where the items will be locked against any movement, unless you insert a password to allow it. You can go to the document settings, which has relevant information about the document, and you can use a different kind of password protection. This one will completely block the access to the design view, unless you insert the correct password, of course. Last but not least, you have the option to close the document and to exit the software completely. Moving into the Edit menu, you can undo or redo a layout action, and you can do a bunch of stuff to an item directly through this menu. Last but not least, you can edit the card background. Moving into the Database tab, you can connect into database, which we'll do later on. You can disconnect, you can import data from a secondary database. You can move to the first record, to the next one, to the previous one, to the last one. You can add a record and you can delete any selected record. Onto the View menu, you can switch the measurement system from millimeters to inches. You can decide to show or hide the grid and ruler. And you can configure the items to snap onto the grid, other objects, or not at all. Just so you're aware, the snap action will basically get triggered as you move the items around the layout, where depending on the configuration, the items will or not stop at a certain point. Last but not least, you have the Tools menu, where every single option besides the printer tools will be available on the left toolbar, which we'll cover right after. As for the printer tools, we'll also be able to analyze it directly through the encoding view that will be shown later on. The rest of the menus you already seen. Now let's cover the left toolbar. Starting off with the first button, you can add the standard text item, an integer number or a decimal number. You can add a shape or figure. You can edit the background, where a tab will appear on the right side. You can add an image, where you could do it from your system's file explorer, from our image gallery, or from a camera source. You can add a 1D or 2D barcode. You can add a fingerprint image, a signature image, a date and time or time item, a counter. Last but not least, you can add encoding features to your layout, from magnetic to contact to contactless. On the top bar, you also have some buttons. This one corresponds to the selected design view, which you can then switch into an encoding view, a script view. This is where it allows you to configure our multi-layout feature, which I'll show you in a bit. This is the item selector. This is the layout panner or grabber. This is the zoom in, zoom out default display. This is to show only the front, only the back, or both sides of the card. This is to undo an action, redo, print the document, or save it. I've just quickly added one item of each type to my layout to show you what different options they have. Starting off with the position tab, it presents exactly the same options for every single item, regardless of being text, barcode, shape, or image. However, the Style tab allows you to select font size, family, and other format for the text being displayed, which means the barcodes without a human readable, the shapes, or the images don't apply to this scenario. An image, for example, has a bunch of options focused for the image presentation. Also, the barcode items have a specific barcode tab where you can choose the type of barcode, as well as a few options like human readable, check digit, etc. Last but not least, we have the parameters tab. On top of it, you can set an item to be fixed, item link, or database connected. On the bottom, you have the ability of adding a prefix or suffix to concatenate with the main value. Then the middle settings will depend on the type of text you have inserted, where for example text, integer, and number mostly have data length option. The date and time have a date/time format option, and the counter is the one with more options such as minimum, maximum, step value, justified zeros, etc. Regarding the images, while you can use a fixed image, you can acquire it from wherever you want. A camera, your web browser, a URL from our gallery. If I want to edit my image by any chance, I can select it, click on the edit button. Then our brand new optimized image editor will be prompted, where it allows you to configure the display of your image, such as standard settings, face detection, color mode, background removal features, and you can crop exactly the part of the image you want to keep. If you look at the bottom of these, there's a new layers section which contains all types of activated ribbon layers, where you can mainly assign any item to the different layers. It also offers you the ability to set an item to not be printed, lock it against movement, show it or hide it, or you could delete it through here as well. The only item you cannot move around is the background, which will always be printed with the color and black panels. You can also add any special layer to this list in case you wish to print it outside the standard ribbon environment. I'm now going to show you how to connect a database to my layout, where the easiest way to do it is click on this button. Since I have the highest edition possible, all the database connections will be available. But initially I'll be picking the 15 records example, so I can show you an immediate display of how to work with this feature. Starting off, you're looking at an adjustable view where you can increase or decrease the size of the layout, where by increasing the layout you will decrease the database view and vice versa. Right now all my items are static, but I can either drag and drop one from the table, or I can select an existing one, go to the parameters tab, choose the option database, and select one of the listed columns. Exploring the rest of the database view, this button is used to select all the records. You can select them one by one through the squares. If you right click on a column, you're able to rename it, add it to the card, which is the same as dragging, move it to the left of the table, to the right of the table, hide it, unhide it, where clicking here you can see the list of currently hidden columns. You can access the advanced options of this field, where it allows you to configure it in a certain way. Last but not least, you can change the column type depending on your needs. If you right click on the information instead of the field name, it has other options that allow you to apply the same value to all the remaining rows, copy the entire line, paste it, or duplicate it. If we look at the bottom, we have the Add Record button, the Delete, the button that goes to the first record, previous record, next record, and last.
You can search for a specific keyword within all the listed columns or a specific one. You can apply condition just specified on the left. You can then delete it. You can also disconnect the database, refresh it, or access the list of previously applied filters. Using our existing 15 records SQLite sample, you will not be allowed to use this feature I'm going to show you, but any other should allow you to. So if you right click on any column, you can create a custom column on the one you right clicked on. I'll name it full name, for example, where I can then add a separator, a space in this case, and then I can merge it with the last name. You could also define these to be simple text or point to index image. Once you click on OK, a custom column with the add sign on the left will be added right in front of the field you right clicked on, but you can then move it around, of course. You can then drag and drop it into the layout, or you can simply point an existing item to the same. You can also configure one of your fields to load indexed images. Using other words, you should be able to load photos through an accessible system file path or web URL. In order to do it, you have to right-click on the target column, go to the column type option, and choose the indexed image. Then you can right-click on it again, go to advanced options. You can configure the indexed folder as well as the list of extensions that will be allowed in this connection. If I want to capture an indexed image for the current record, I have to click on the three dots in front of the respective field value, click on Open Gallery, or I can double click on it. The first step is to configure the default image folder in case you haven't before. In this case, I'm going to set it as my desktop. I can then either acquire new images from a camera through another system folder or through a web URL. In this example, we're going to choose this option where I'll be looking for my target image. Now I can choose whether or not I want to copy this image to the indexed folder. If I don't do it, the indexed value of this record will be the entire path to the folder where the acquired image was obtained from. Otherwise, it will copy the same to the indexed folder, making the index value just the name of the image. Just like we did with the custom column, we can also drag and drop the photo, or we can set an existing item to point to the same. We're now going to show you how to use our multiple layout feature. You just have to click on the plus button first. In here, you'll be able to create a new layout from scratch. I'll be duplicating one. If I wanted to delete it or set it as default, I could. I just quickly reverted the order of the layouts so you can notice some differences. I can now force a layout to be used depending on my manual selection, but I would like these to be automatic during the record navigation and job processing. So I'm going to click on the layout settings. I'm going to show you a valid example on how to do it. First of all, you must create a unique condition for every single layout. The first one, I'll be using position, setting it as containing sales. And for the second one, I'll be simply reverting the condition using the not contains sales. If we now navigate through the records, it will always use the first layout until it finds a record that doesn't belong to sales. Like this case, I go back to a salesperson, it should bring me back into the first layout. We're now going to show you the encoding view, but before we do, we're going to add one of each feature. As we do it, the contact chip and magnetic stripes will be visible on the layout, and we can now access respective encoding views. Starting with the magnetic, on the left side you can select each of the tracks you want to edit. You can configure it to encode always or only when it has data. You can set it as a fixed item, an item link, database item, print counter, or date. Being a fixed item, you can type in whatever data you want and it should reflect on the preview in the middle. In here you have the encode button and the read button, which shouldn't require previous card movement. As long as there's a card in the input feeder, it will be pulled to encode or read the magnetic stripes depending on what button you clicked on. If I click to read with the track data text line empty, then it should be populated with the red value. Also, if I select track 2 and I type in any data that's not valid for the track standards, an error message should be returned on the bottom, and it won't let you type it in unless it's completely valid. Moving on to the contact and contactless sections, you'll be able to select the encoder in here. You can also refresh the connection if you connect the encoder midway. Then for the My Fair Classic technology I've added, there should be some wizards available. In this example, I'm just going to read the UID and log it in the output tab. Bear in mind that the log functions can only be seen during a manual script execution. So the best way to showcase the red UID during a job environment is to use the app alert function instead. Now, if you're using a table encoder like I am, I simply have to click on the play button while my MyFair Classic card is already positioned. I'll get the app alert, the log functions executed, and once I close the message, the script will end without an error. Now, in case you had an encoder inside the printer, you would have to use the Move to Contactless Encoder Position button before clicking on the play icon. Moving on to the scripting view, where it will allow you to manage the script events for the document or each target item, which by the way is split by multi-layout. By adding a general script event, it will fall below the document, but if I do it to a specific item, it will be listed on the bottom of it. I can manually run any script event to show the outcome, but in this case it would just throw an application alert with a defined message. Now going to get back to the design view. Once we have everything configured, we should be able to send a print and or encoding job. In the print tab, you can obviously select different printer, you can refresh the printer connection, you can access to the driver settings of the selected device, you can reset the configurations to the ones being used by the system, you can change the card size, which by the way only displays options brought by the respective driver. You can change the card orientation at any time. Moving to the print range section, you can choose different ways to print any target amount of records. You could either do it from the first record, the currently selected, the last, or define a custom number. You have here an example on how you could pick the correct range. You can print all the selected records in the table view, where you would need to have selected at least one, or you could use conditional print, which allows you to print all the records that respect a specific condition. For example, the position that contains sales, where everyone else would not be printed. On the bottom left, you have a number of copies in case you want to print any duplicates, and you can also reverse the order they are processed. In case I didn't have a database connection, by the way, the print range would only present the number of different cards I wanted to print. Moving to the middle section, there are a few options such as rendering, rotation, magnetic, and a brand new feature, digital copy mode, can be enabled through here, where basically you can automatically create a PDF or image file of the printed card. Onto the top print operations section, it's where you'll be able to enable all the operations you want to make part of the job. Last but not least, on the bottom right, it just shows you some information about the selected device and also allows you to run a print test from its driver. We also have the preview section where you could filter the front and back as well as the color and black displays. You could also print through here. Last but not least, the advanced print operations. This view, you'll be able to update the field with any value you'd like. For example, print status, counter, date, status and counter, status, counter and date, or you could type in anything manually. You can add a secondary field update, where you could also delete any you don't want to use. Moving on to the right side, you can manually update the value of any selected field, where you could either set all records to be equal or different than the defined value.
For more information on any of the displayed features or any aspect that hasn't been mentioned, please don't hesitate to contact us, as we could have some specific documentation for the same. Thank you for watching this video.